Open your refrigerator and imagine finding something that smells slightly wrong. Not rotten enough to be obvious, just wrong enough that your face tightens before you have time to think. You put it back, check the date, and probably throw it away. Easy decision. Now remove the refrigerator. Remove the label, the grocery store, and the promise of another meal tomorrow. In that world, the question changes. It is no longer, would you eat this? It becomes, how long could you afford to say no? Ancient humans did not have magical stomachs, and they could not safely eat anything they found. They got sick. They made mistakes. They faced the same basic problem our disgust response still tries to solve. Food can keep you alive, but food can also harm you. The difference was the pressure surrounding that decision. A hard root, an open bone, or a handful of insects might look unbearable to us. To a hungry group, it could mean enough energy to keep walking. So did ancient humans tolerate more because their bodies were stronger, or because hunger, tools, and experience changed what counted as food? Start with disgust. That sudden recoil is not weakness or modern fussiness. It is a warning system. Sour odors, unusual textures, signs of decay, and certain bitter tastes can point toward contamination or toxins. The warning is imperfect, but ignoring it carelessly can be expensive. Before refrigeration, antibiotics, and food inspection, a bad decision could threaten more than one uncomfortable evening. But a warning does not make the decision for you. Picture a group at the end of a poor week. Game has moved on. Easy fruit is gone. Everyone has spent energy and gained very little. Nearby are bones with something left inside, plants buried under hard ground, and small creatures hiding under bark. Disgust says, "Be careful." Hunger answers, "Careful for how long?" That conflict is hard for many of us to feel because modern food arrives after most of the difficult judgments have been made. Other people identify it, process it, inspect it, package it, and give it a name. We decide between products. Earlier, humans had to make decisions about landscapes, which plants returned in spring, which parts of an animal justified the work. What did a dangerous smell mean? Could heat change the answer? Their surroundings were full of possible calories, but very few came with instructions. Bone marrow gives us one of the clearest examples. Cracking an animal bone for food may feel strange if you grew up buying meat already cut and wrapped. In survival terms, however, marrow is concentrated energy protected by a hard shell. Archaeologists have found animal bones with cut marks and impact damage at early human sites. Alongside stone tools, those traces show that some early humans deliberately processed carcasses and broke bones to reach what was inside. The evidence does not tell us that every group ate the same foods in the same way. It does tell us that people learned to see beyond the obvious parts of an animal. A bone was not necessarily waste. With the right stone and enough effort, it could still hold a meal. At Kesim Cave in what is now Israel, researchers have even argued that certain limb bones were kept with skin attached for a time before the marrow was extracted. That interpretation is site-specific, but it gives us a glimpse of careful food management rather than blind desperation. There is another detail hidden in those broken bones. Getting marrow costs energy. A person has to carry the bone, choose a striking surface, and hit it hard enough to open it. That work only makes sense when the expected reward is worth the effort. Ancient eating was not a contest to see who could tolerate the worst meal. It was an energy budget. People were constantly deciding what to pursue, what to process, and what to leave behind. Hunger could widen the options, but it did not erase calculation. Meat and marrow are only part of the picture. There was no single ancient human diet. Climate, season, location, and available species changed the menu. Plant foods could matter enormously. Evidence from Gesher Beno Yaakov, a site roughly 780,000 years old, points to a wide range of plant foods, including nuts, seeds, fruits, and aquatic plants. Dental calculus from some Neanderthals has also preserved plant microfossils, including evidence consistent with cooked plant foods. That matters because a plant does not have to look inviting to be useful. Some roots and tubers are tough or fibrous. Seeds may be locked behind hard shells. Other plants can be bitter or difficult to chew. Depending on the species, people may need to crack, pound, peel, roast, or otherwise process them. This is not permission to experiment with unknown wild plants today. It is evidence of a much older human skill, turning materials in the landscape into food. Once you see that skill, the story changes. Food was not only discovered, it was produced through work. A stone opened a bone, heat softened a plant, repeated pounding changed a hard seed. The useful calorie was often hidden behind a problem, and the people who solved that problem gained access to resources that another animal, or another group, might leave behind. No one had to solve every problem alone. The popular image of one fearless ancestor tasting random plants is probably the wrong way to think about food knowledge. Much of that knowledge would have accumulated over time. People watched animals and watched one another. Children learned where adults dug and which parts they discarded. A preparation method that worked could be repeated. A costly mistake could become a warning shared by the group. This social memory changed the feeling of the food itself. Hand a modern hiker an unknown route and hesitation is sensible. Let someone grow up watching that route gathered at the same time each year, prepared by trusted adults and eaten through every lean season, and it is no longer truly unknown. It may still taste bitter. It may still require an afternoon of work. Familiarity does not make it delicious, but it can make it legible. Fire pushed the boundary further. Cooking can soften food, alter flavor, reduce chewing effort, and make some nutrients easier to access. It can also reduce certain biological risks, though fire does not make every dangerous food safe. Combined with stone-cutting edges, pounding tools, and digging implements, heat gave humans more ways to transform what they found. Instead of asking only, "Can this be eaten now?" they could ask, "Can we turn this into something usable?" That question may explain more than the idea of a stronger ancient stomach ever could. Human survival did not depend only on digestion. It depended on processing food before digestion began. Teeth and gut mattered, but so did hands, tools, fire, memory, and the presence of other people. The effective human food system extended beyond the body. Why then do many modern people recoil from foods that other humans once valued, or that people in other cultures still eat? Part of the answer is simple exposure. Insects are ordinary food in many places, and a source of immediate disgust in others. Marrow can be a restaurant dish, a family staple, or something a person refuses to look at. Biology gives us warning tendencies. Culture teaches those warnings where to land. Our food environment also hides much of the animal or plant that produced a meal. We rarely inspect a carcass. We check a date on a package. We do not need to decide whether a bone is worth opening because fat and protein arrive already separated. Even the dirt has been washed away. Modern convenience did not erase disgust. It changed the situations in which we use it. This does not mean modern people are weaker. Our calculations are different because the cost of refusal is usually low. If one item seems questionable, another is nearby. Earlier, humans sometimes had to compare two dangers: the possible danger of eating and the increasingly certain danger of going without. When hunger deepens, attention narrows, effort becomes harder, and a resource rejected yesterday may deserve another look today. That is why saying ancient humans ate disgusting things tells us more about the speaker than the past. Disgusting to whom? A root pulled from cold mud may look desperate beside a stocked refrigerator. After a day without food, it looks different. Marrow seems alien when bones normally disappear before dinner reaches the table. In a hungry camp, the same marrow is dense energy. What feels unbearable grows out of biology, but also habit and circumstance. The boundary could move with the season. In good times, people could favor foods that were sweeter, richer, easier to collect, or less risky. In lean times, more labor became worthwhile. Hard shells, buried plants, small animals, and overlooked parts of a carcass entered the calculation. Standards did not vanish. The price of keeping them unchanged simply rose. So the answer is not that ancient humans lacked disgust. They needed it. Nor is the answer that they had invincible digestive systems. The more convincing explanation is a negotiation between caution and need, supported by technology and shared knowledge. Their bodies warned them, much as ours do. Their circumstances forced them to ask a follow-up question. Can this warning be respected while the resource is still made useful? The next time a strange smell sends your hand away from the refrigerator, you are feeling something ancient. That response protects you, and you should not treat questionable food as a survival experiment. But the ease of throwing it away reveals how different our world has become. For many of us, another meal is close. For earlier humans, the distance between meals could keep growing. Ancient humans did not survive difficult foods because they were less human. They survived because they were recognizably human, cautious enough to hesitate, observant enough to learn, and inventive enough to change the food before eating it. The things we could not stomach today may once have carried someone through a cold night. If the fire were burning low and you knew breakfast might not come, which option would you choose? Marrow from a cracked bone, a bitter root prepared by people you trusted, or insects gathered from under bark? More importantly, after how many missed meals would your answer change?